I am my greatest mystery to myself, and I want to know about the parts of myself that are hidden. I grew up in Cape Town in South Africa in the 80s. I'm not sure how much you know about South Africa's history, but we grew up in apartheid South Africa, where that was a system that categorized people according to their race. But I belong to a race that is set in between black and white. I think that in Europe there's the perception that apartheid was about black and white, but there was also colored people who in South Africa being of mixed race and of mixed descent. So for me, for instance, my father, from my father's side, my lineage is Asian, so Indonesian, and that's how Islam reached Cape Town from Indonesia. These Muslim slaves that was brought there. So yeah, we grew up in a very politically intense time. I guess other aspects of my identity also comes into play in my practice as an artist. Being Muslim, being homosexual, being mixed race in South Africa. Those different aspects was things that I kind of focus on at different parts of my life, depending on what's important at the time, you know, what I'm going through on a personal level. I think my practice, I would say, was often focused on the domestic environment as an environment that produces individuals, produces patterns of thinking and behavior. And I was keen on understanding how I was produced by that environment. So my home was the first thing, and then the broader community, and then also South Africa. I think for this exhibition, I had a very basic thought of connecting the process of weaving and to the process of prayer, because I do think that it leads to the same result internally, at least if you do it consciously. You know, with just like in prayer, there's this repetition. You know, you do it 5 times a day, and you do this repeated movements, and everything is done with great consciousness and understanding. The rhythm of it, the rhythm of the movement, it's also in the weaving. You know, this constant repetition. And so internally what often happens is you have to push against the feeling of wanting to give up. You know, it's quite daunting to take on the task of weaving something huge. And so you have to push against that feeling of wanting to give up and all of that. And I think it's something I experience when I pray too, or when I meditate, what we call zikr, you know, where we just focus on certain phrases or parts of the Quran. And it has an effect.
And the title, I Am No More, it seems kind of grim or sad. Can you explain the title?
Sure. I think it's relatable to anybody who has an interest in spirituality, because we all realize that there's this egoistic side, this mind thing, this very strong, dominant force within us that controls us to the point that can often lead to bad things. And I think the process of enlightenment, I guess, would be about killing off that. And so previously I did a performance actually with my father, where he washes and prepares my body in the Islamic ritual as if I had died. And that it was about killing off a version of myself that no longer was good for me, was no longer helpful, was no longer useful. I needed to let go of, I guess, a more immature version of myself that had a very specific relationship with my father, because he wasn't a good guy necessarily when I was growing up. And in order to forgive, I needed to let go of something. So we did this for ritual, so that we can kill that and start new. and it worked. It definitely worked.
So these intricate prayer books, some of them have pearls on them.
Yes.
Why do you use pearls?
Yes, I mean, I guess I'm drawn to pearls. First of all, I like the idea of an individual that makes up the collective, right? So we can relate to that as people. We are individuals, but we are also a collective, and we are plugged into that collective. So I like that metaphor. But then, of course, the pearls, what you call pearls, we would call beads.
Yeah, the beads.
The beads, the pearls. It's also used in Islam in the same way that a rosary would be used in Catholicism. You know, you use it to keep track of how many times you say a certain phrase and things like that. So it is part of the worship process. But I think also pearls are often, it goes further, because I'm also African, and in South Africa, pearls or beads are associated with culture, with ritual, and with adornment with the body.
So you invite people to step into the prayer room.
Yes.
What do you wish to achieve? What's the meaning behind it?
I think as an artist, we often try to slow people down, because we are in an age of technology. Everything is fast. There's this acceleration, this feeling of life has been speeding up all the time, and so I think it becomes important to us to give people a moment to slow down, to think about things, to reflect on things. And the room, I guess, is just a nice way for people to, first of all, have the experience of stepping inside an artwork and becoming part of it. It becomes practical. And in a way, I guess the reason why I chose to put it in this space, because I'm somewhat aware too, of course, of the political situation here and things that are going on in Europe at large. And I think it also my way of disarming people, to show people that it's maybe not as scary as you think.